Welcome to today's explainer. Look, if you've been feeling the heavy weight of modern life lately, the burnout, the endless stress, that constant crushing pressure to achieve, well, you are exactly who this is for. Today, we're diving into a really profound text by Zhu Feng titled, Life is But an Illusion. We're going to unpack the deep philosophical meaning of life as a dream. And honestly, by really looking closely at this philosophy, we might just discover that fundamentally, shifting our perspective on reality is the ultimate cure for our daily anxieties. Let's get into it.
Okay, I want you to picture something for a second. Think about the most intense, crazy, twisting dream you've ever had. While you were right in the middle of it, every single detail felt like life or death, right? But the second you opened your eyes this morning, boom, it vanished. You didn't spend the rest of the day mourning its end or trying to control the dream characters. The author poses a really fascinating premise here. What if your entire waking life operates on that exact same principle?
What is an illusion? To really understand how life mimics a dream, we have to define our terms. Now, normally we think of an illusion as like a magic trick or a trick of the eye, but the source material gives us a much broader, highly logical definition. An illusion is simply any phenomenon that arises quickly, remains for a brief period, and then disappears completely. The main thing to grasp here isn't whether it feels real in the moment. The crucial factor is entirely its temporary nature.
And the text gives us some really fascinating everyday examples of this definition in action. Mirages, soap bubbles, those are obvious illusions, right? They pop in seconds. But by this definition, a flash in the pan is an illusion. The millions of microscopic cells and fungi that are blooming and dying around us right now, illusions. Even our digital worlds, our computer games, our favorite movies and TV shows, they are all illusions. They exist for a bit, and then they just vanish.
So the big takeaway here is that duration doesn't actually change the nature of a thing. The author asks this amazing Socratic question. Imagine a person were to dream continuously for 100 years. Would that suddenly make the dream reality? Well, of course not, because the very second that person wakes up, that entire 100-year world disappears completely. A long illusion is still fundamentally an illusion.
Part 2. Life as a Dream.
If a 100-year dream is an illusion simply because it eventually vanishes, then we have to apply that exact same logic to human existence. Even if you live to be 100 years old, eventually your life comes to an end and disappears from the present reality. Therefore, philosophically and logically speaking, life fits the precise definition of an illusion.
This timeline completely punctures the ego we all carry around. Just think about the 1820s for a second. Who remembers their great-great-grandparents? I mean, they're almost entirely forgotten. In the 1920s, our grandparents lived, and even those memories are getting blurred. Right now in the 2020s, you probably feel incredibly important. We all do. But fast forward to the 2120s, 100 years after you were gone, who is going to remember you? The text bluntly reminds us that taking our current importance for granted is basically a complete hallucination.
Truly understanding this completely flips our mindset. The source contrasts two states of being. You have the sleeping person. This person believes the illusion is permanent. And because of that, they live a completely befuddled life filled with obsession, anxiety, intense sorrow, and constant fear. But then you have the awake person, who sees right through the illusion. Because they know it's all temporary, they don't experience intense grief or those dizzying highs. They are pleasant, relaxed, and calm. The author beautifully describes this state as being like a celestial being.
Part 3. The Illusion of Control.
We absolutely exhaust ourselves trying to force life to go our way. But as the text so poetically states, you cannot wear shoes when you are supposed to be barefoot, and you cannot stay on the mountain when you are supposed to leave. It is completely delusional to think you can somehow secure yourself against all risks or dictate the script of your life.
The author points out a pretty undeniable historical fact here. Has there ever been a single person in all of human history who was so intelligent or so powerful that they could control absolutely everything and avoid death? No, literally not one. If they could, they'd still be alive today, ruling forever. This proves that a human is really just a tiny grain of sand in a massive sandstorm, or a single drop of water in an endless sea. We are acting out roles in a play, and we simply do not control the stage.
Think about the sheer amount of time and effort we spend trying to fight our own biology. We really make a terrible deal with our time. We exercise daily, eat these strict nutritious diets, we undergo plastic surgery. But what is the inevitable reality? The sick still get sick. Wrinkles still creep onto our cheeks. The signs of aging just cannot be resisted forever. The text suggests that fiddling with this and that just to inevitably fade away anyway is a terrible waste of our short, precious recreation time.
Let's zoom out for a second to the ultimate macro perspective. One day, the Earth we live on will disappear entirely into the infinite universe, and all of humanity will vanish as an illusion. If the entire planet is destined to float away like a dream, does it make any mathematical sense for a single person to stress over the daily twists and turns of their tiny life?
Part 4. The fear of losing.
Letting go of control is hard, right? The text identifies the specific, deep-seated anxieties that keep us trapped in that sleeping mindset we talked about. What do we fear losing most? Our property, our power and status, our hard-won reputation, and, most profoundly, our beloved lovers. These attachments are the primary traps that cause us such intense suffering and desperation. But the author offers a wonderfully liberating piece of logic to combat this fear. What truly belongs to you cannot escape, and what is not yours, you cannot keep. So why agonize over trying to hold on to things when the entire setup, the whole shebang, the whole illusion, is going to shatter and vanish in a moment anyway? In fact, the text actually singles out romantic affection as the most terrible trap of all. It quotes the old saying, "Ask the mortal world what love is. It drives one mad to death." Because life is an illusion that becomes nothing upon waking, being completely bogged down and driven mad by love tactics is just totally unnecessary. The author cheekily suggests that taking a breezier, much more detached approach to romance might actually be the much healthier way to live. Part 5. How to live freely. So if it's all a fleeting illusion, what on earth do we do now? The core takeaway from this explainer is highly pragmatic. Enjoy the present. Do not worry about tomorrow. The text argues that your destiny, your script, is already determined. Worrying about a predetermined fantasy isn't just useless, it actively ruins your relaxed mood and wastes your valuable playtime on this stage. So how do you put this into practice today? The author gives us 3 surprisingly energetic, rebellious steps for treating life like a fun, low-stakes game. Step 1. If it makes you happy, joyful, and free, just do it. Step 2. If you are forced to do something that really bothers you, just make a perfunctory effort. Seriously, do the absolute bare minimum to get by. And step 3, if a situation or a person is no fun, simply say goodbye. Better yet, never see them again.
Now there is a vital nuance here. Recognizing life as an illusion doesn't mean you should try to escape to some real reality. The text clarifies that within the universe, everything is an illusion. Illusions are reality. They are the stage of life itself. Even if you somehow made it to a beautiful heavenly paradise, it would just be a longer, more splendid illusion. So don't stubbornly fight the stage you are on. Willingly embrace it. Which brings us to our final thought. Most people cling to reality until the soap bubble bursts, and they part with their illusions only with bitter disappointment. But you do not have to do that. Since you now know the profound philosophy that life is ultimately an illusion, why not stop taking it so seriously? Why not let go of the control and the fear and simply enjoy a natural, unrestrained dream?